A very lucky escape this for the people of Liverpool, and who knows what could have happened if things had turned out differently.
A very lucky escape. But, it's a problem I think we're going to have to be grappling with into the future on not a daily basis, but on a very frequent basis. We've got a country now which is effectively being invaded every single day by people who do not have permission to be in our country, people who come from different ideological, cultural backgrounds, many of whom hold our value system in contempt. And they're coming across the channel, they're coming from all other means, they're not being repelled. Our border force is not doing its job, and we are going to have these problems repeatedly going forward unless we get a grip of our immigration policy and indeed our domestic policy once these people get here.
Yeah, I mean, Priti Patel this morning still talking hard and tough, but really not doing much at all, saying we must get to grips with it, we must work together, we must do all of those things that she keeps saying we must do, and yet we still don't manage to do them. Meanwhile, we get the terrorism status raised to severe, but there'll still be it's a beautiful day here today. I imagine there'll be close on between 500 and 1,000 more of these people coming onto our shores today.
Well, let's just look at the contrast between the British response and the Polish response to illegal immigration. Priti Patel keeps saying that she's going to take this action, but she's done absolutely nothing. In fact, Border Force visibly assist these people to make the channel crossing and come onto our shores, as does the RNLI.
Well, it's worse than that, Ben. The Border Force Union are now saying they want to actually get a judicial review as to whether they should be even returning them or attempting to return these people from whence they came.
Well, they haven't got the courage to do it. But then you look at the Polish response to what Belarus is doing, and they've put their army on the border, and they're not going to have any truck with illegal immigration. And that's exactly the kind of response we should be having.
Yeah.
But I just want to say one thing, which is really important, I think, for viewers to put into context. Over the last 20 years, we have seen the British population rise from about 55 million to 68 million. That is a 24% increase in our population. None of that is indigenous growth. All of that is immigration. Tony Blair threw open the floodgates of immigration, and we have taken in a net 300,000 plus a year for the last 20 years. And the Tories are equally at fault. It's not just Labour. The Tories have continued with their inability to close down our borders. And whilst they've thrown open the doors to immigration, we've simultaneously prosecuted a foreign policy which has bombed the hell out of North Africa, bombed the hell out of the Middle East, and now we've exited Afghanistan in the way that we have. So we've created a refugee crisis in the Middle East, North Africa, and Near East.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we've thrown open our doors to immigration. So we've created the perfect situation for these hostile elements to make their way into the United Kingdom. And they've made their way.
Yeah,
and now we have
it's the perfect cover, isn't it? Because all you've got to do is get on one of these dinghies. Now, all the people around you might be coming here to work in a sweatshop in Leicester, for all we know, or they might be willing to work for Albanian drug gangs, but they might not be actually terrorists. But how about this from Douglas Carswell overnight? He sent this. Sounds like the latest terror suspect in the UK came to the UK from Iraq. The Parsons Green bomber came from Iraq. The Manchester terrorist came from Libya. The Derby terrorist came from the Sudan. Can we at least have an honest conversation about the threat of terror, which we're not supposed to have? You and I are not supposed to be saying these things, Ben, because apparently we might be racists.
I know. Well, I can't be racist because I'm brown.
Yeah, but, that's one of the other great paradoxes of life, right?
Exactly. But I mean, we've got to call a spade, if that's not the wrong. Again, perhaps that's a bit of a dangerous.
Yeah, I know. It's mad, isn't it?
No, it is mad. I mean, the fact is that we have an unbridled immigration. We haven't controlled our borders at a time that we have ourselves sort of rendered fiasco through the Middle East, Near East, and North Africa. We have created the problems. We've created the ideal scenario for these people to come to this country. Tony Blair has a hell of a lot to answer for. He's the one who took us into Iraq, patently an illegal war, patently was going to result in animosity towards the West. And now, with freedom of movement across Europe, with weak European border force themselves, Greece can't repel these people. They get into Greece. There was meant to be this kind of concentration camp set up by Merkel in Turkey, but that isn't working so well. So you're going to get these people coming to Greece, and the minute they're in Greece, they can go right across Europe, get on a dinghy, as you say, Mike, in France, and be in the UK within days.
Yeah.
And
well,
what we're, if people get across from the Belarusian border into Poland, they will be in the UK within days.
No question. But isn't it interesting, though? You mentioned this earlier about the EU. The EU referred to the Belarusian incomers, if you like, the people who have come from various points east, from Afghanistan, from North Africa, from the Middle East. The EU declares them to be not genuine refugees, right? Yeah. Now, how is that different to the people who are sitting in Calais, boarding dinghies and illegally crossing the channel? How is that different?
Absolutely. They're already in a safe haven. They're in France. They should stay in France. And France has a deal with the United Kingdom to police its own borders. We've paid them over £200 million over the last couple of years in order to do just that. And they haven't done it. We've got footage of French police actually ignoring these dinghies being launched. Right. I mean, the whole thing is a joke. And all the while, and just to, without wishing to bring it back to fishing, all the while, they're coming into our waters, taking our fish, and then complaining about the fact that they haven't got even greater access. You couldn't have a worse international relationship than the one we have with France. They send us their illegal immigrants, and they take our fishing. It's absolutely appalling.
It's like the worst of both worlds, isn't it?